So you are thinking about making the move here to Franklin, Tennessee. Well, that is wonderful because today we are going to talk about the top 5 things that people do not like about Franklin, Tennessee. Folks, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living, working, and playing here in Franklin, Tennessee, then subscribe below and tap the bell for notifications so that you can be the first to know about the current real estate market here in Franklin, Tennessee. So, number 1 on our list today, folks, is going to be the price of homes here in Franklin. Real estate in Franklin wasn't always as absurdly expensive as it is today. For example, just 3 years ago, in January of 2020, the median sales price in Franklin was just $519,900. And today, the median sales price in Franklin is just over $850,000. So roughly that equates to a 48.19% price increase over the course of just 3 years. Now, during COVID, the world certainly changed and remote work started to become the norm. When this happened, it spawned a mass exodus to states like Tennessee where there's no income tax. As some states got more restrictive on COVID protocols and politics just started to get weird. Even more people started moving here to Franklin, Tennessee, and you couple that with the best school systems that Tennessee has to offer and the Mayberry type small town vibe that you get with downtown Franklin and kind of Franklin in general, those things certainly made it an easier decision for folks looking to pull the trigger and make the move here to Tennessee. So suddenly, the housing supply started to dry up, and as demand and prices began to skyrocket, it hasn't been the same since. And now Franklin, it does share its border with another high dollar location, and that's Brentwood, Tennessee. And Franklin's close proximity to Brentwood does tend to keep prices higher. A high dollar area like Brentwood, it's going to continue to keep the prices in Franklin, which are just right next door to each other, it's going to keep Franklin prices up as well. So, number 2 on our list today is going to be the lack of public transport here in Franklin, Tennessee. If you plan on moving here from a city where you rely heavily on public transportation to get around, then Franklin is really going to be a disappointment to you. There are a couple options for you, and you can find them at franklintransit.org. But the routes are very seriously limited in regard to travel range, and more than likely won't be of much use to you in your day-to-day life, unless, of course, you are fortunate enough to work somewhere close to the bus route. If you plan on living here, then you really are going to need a car or a motorcycle or a truck to get around, just because there is such a lack of public transportation here in Franklin. Now, on the plus side, you do have free parking in the downtown Franklin area. So there is a little bit of an upside if you're living or working in the downtown Franklin area. Number 3 on our list for today is going to be the traffic here in Franklin, folks. There are currently more than 85,000 people living here in Franklin, and oftentimes it can feel like all of them are on the roads at the exact same time. Most of the roads going into and out of Franklin are your run-of-the-mill, just 2-lane roads with plenty of cross streets coming into town. That means there are going to be a lot of stop signs, a lot of red lights, and that's going to eventually translate to plenty of stop-and-go driving. There are several high-density communities in the area, folks, like Fieldstone Farms and McKay's Mill, West Haven, Sullivan Farms even, just to name a couple. And if you live in one of these communities, folks, then you're definitely going to need to refine your patience a little bit, because traffic, it gets so backed up and it's so heavy. Either way, the bottom line with traffic in Franklin is this. During the morning and afternoon rush hours, traffic can get pretty rough. And as for I-65 heading north into Nashville, you can really get tangled up because a lot of traffic is going both into Nashville as well as south down I-65 through Franklin, headed to cities like Spring Hill and Columbia. But for the rest of the day, traffic is typically pretty light and easy to navigate, with the exception of lunchtime and specifically the downtown area of Franklin. All in all, traffic really is not the end of the world for Franklin residents. People from major cities like Atlanta or Chicago or even LA will really get a kick out of people complaining about traffic here in Franklin when you compare the two side by side. Now, my wife and I, we lived in Franklin for more than a year. We loved our time there, absolutely incredible. Our ultimate goal is to be back in Franklin a little bit further down the line, but when we both lived in Franklin, we both commuted into downtown Nashville for work every single morning. Now, it was kind of nice. We had a very unique scenario where both my wife and I worked for the same company, so oftentimes we could save gas and take one vehicle. But in the morning, traffic on I-65 would get backed up to the point where a normal 25 to 30 minute drive from our home in Franklin to downtown Nashville to our office, instead of taking that 25 to 30 minutes, you could be looking at 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the traffic that morning, whether or not there were any collisions, and so on and so forth. Typical things that bind up traffic headed into a major metro area. Now, our fourth item on the list today, folks, is going to be the loss of that small town feel. Now, people who have lived in Franklin for years remember a time where the traffic was less, people were more familiar with one another, but just in the last 10 years or so, Franklin has exploded with so much growth, with big subdivisions being built, strip malls coming in, and corporate headquarters just popping up everywhere. If you stop any resident who has lived in Franklin long term, you're often going to hear similar complaints from these folks about all this new coming in. But let's be honest, with as nice as Franklin is, it really is a surprise that it hadn't blown up sooner than it already has. As with the amenities and how well everything is cared for, and just the beauty of it all, Franklin should have blown up way long ago. But in the last 10 years, it's really grown quite a bit. So even though there are more people here in Franklin now, I would argue that there hasn't been a major loss of community feel yet. Again, when my wife and I lived in the area, we knew our neighbors, we had many friends in the community, friends that we've maintained to this day. So I think it really boils down to more about how much effort you put into immersing yourself in the community, becoming a part of the community, and getting to know the members of the community, building those long-lasting quality relationships. And I honestly would argue that the potential for that is still there in Franklin. All right, folks, number 5, and the last item on our list for today, is going to be overcrowding in schools. And it's another one of those that really shouldn't come as a surprise. As I've said before, the phenomenal school system here is one of the major draws that keep people moving to Franklin and Williamson County at such a high rate. According to niche.com, it's a site we use regularly for metrics and things like that, neighborhood data and so on and so forth, 6 of the top 20 public high schools in Tennessee are going to be here in Williamson County. Now, the schools are honestly starting to burst at the seams, with nearly 36% of Williamson County schools reported that they're over capacity right now. And they're trying to accommodate all the new families moving to the area. And that's really tough. I feel for these teachers. I feel for these administrators working in the Williamson County area trying to manage this growth. it really is just insane. And, you know, I know that the folks in Williamson County continue to be some of the best in the state, even with these issues coming up. You cannot beat Williamson County schools. And, you know, we have to applaud these teachers, these administrators, all of these people who come together and make the school systems what they are in Williamson County. So that is going to wrap up our video for today, folks. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that it has given you some insight into what it is like to live here in Williamson County and Franklin, Tennessee, and just kind of the area in general. And just remember, folks, whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or schedule a personalized Zoom call with us on the description below so that we can help you make a smooth move here to Franklin, Tennessee. Until next time, I hope to see you around town soon.